everyone, welcome to the Yej Budget. My name is Yeji and today I am introducing my new budget and meal planner for 2025. My goals for the new year is to be more disciplined and strict with my budget, especially since I have this tendency to be flexible when I should not be. And both my husband and I have lots of debt in our credit cards and student loans, and our student loan is actually still growing because we're still in school. So we really need to do a better job at sticking to our budget and staying disciplined. Another goal that I have this year is to do a better job at meal planning and cooking at home instead of ordering food or getting food for to go. Plus, it doesn't help that I don't enjoy cooking nor my husband. So we spend a lot of money on like eating out. And it really actually is one of the largest expenses for us in this previous year. But I know it's the category where you can save the most money, and I really want to do better this year. So these two goals led me to create my new budget and meal planners. And I also decided to add this to my Kofi and Etsy shop, hoping this can help many people who want to do a better job, just like me, at managing their finances and meal planning to save money and also to take care of their health. I've asked a few of my friends in the community for their feedback, so I really want to thank all my friends for their help, first of all, and I really appreciate it. I know these are still not perfect, so if any of you have feedback, please send them to my email at yejbudget@gmail.com so I can make these planners better and make them into something that you want to use every day. So before I introduce these two planners, I also want to share what I focused on when I was designing these planners. One thing that I try to incorporate into these designs is to remove any unnecessary space. When I shop for planners, I'm not a big fan of those that have lots of pages or fields that I know I won't be using for my own planning. I don't like it when I see all these like blank spaces after I finish writing down everything on the page. So although my planner may not work for everyone because everyone has a different system for their cash stuffing and meal planning, and I am sure you'll find the spaces here that you won't be using either, but I really did my best to make everything like more simple and minimal while keeping some flexible spaces so you can use it in case you need more space. Another point that I focused on in designing these planners is that I made two versions of some budgeting sheets for those who prefer a more minimalistic look and for those who prefer having more space. For example, when it comes to debt and loan, some may only need one or two lines, while others may need more than 10 lines depending on how many loan accounts you have. So I decided to create these different kinds of budgeting sheets in two different versions. And both versions are included in the planner when you download it, so you can choose whichever works best for your own budgeting system. Last but not least, you can download this planner in either the US letter size or A5 size. So the content is the same for both versions. The design might look a little bit different just because of the size of the paper. So what I will be showing in this video is the letter size, but please know that it's also available in A5. So let's start with the meal planner since this will be quicker. As you can see here, I made two different versions. One is monthly and the other one is weekly. And both are included in the planner when you download it, so you get both. I know some of you like to plan for the entire month and some of you prefer doing it every week, so I included both for that. And this is my weekly grocery planner for the past week, and I just wanted to show it as an example so that you can see like how I use it and how you can use it. So first I write down which week this is for, and then you can of course write down month if you decide to use the monthly one. And then I write down what I have left in the fridge, including everything in the freezer. One of the big problems that I have is that I have a bunch of stuff still left in the fridge, but I forget about them. So many times they go to waste, or I buy the same stuff not knowing I already have some at home. So before I go grocery shopping, I check my fridge to write down everything that I have, including everything in the freezer, so that I can empty the fridge as much as I can by making dishes with whatever I have at home. So as you see on Saturday, I put leftover here and empty the fridge. So I know I need to make something with whatever I have left. And then this is the space where you can write down things that you need to buy next time you go grocery shopping. I normally use the app called Our Groceries for our grocery list. You can create an account for free, and then you can share that with your family members so that you have a shared list. Because sometimes I go grocery shopping, sometimes my husband goes. So we want to have like a one shared list together. And then once you buy items, you can easily check that off to remove it from the list. And this app is free, so like feel free to check that out if you prefer using the phone instead of writing it down. So I usually use that app, but just to show how you can use this planner, I wrote down some items for my upcoming grocery list. And here I added a section for notes in case you need more space for any other miscellaneous stuff. And on the right side, I write down the dishes that I would like to make for that week. We don't really eat breakfast unless it's like brunch for weekends. And then I pack lunch boxes for my husband on weekdays. And I usually just have coffee and a bagel for lunch because most of the time I work from home. So I normally only write down the dinner menu here, as you can see. And if I know I have a plan to go out for lunch or dinner, I write them down here too. So it can help me budget and meal plan better for that week. So that was the meal planner. And here is the budgeting planner. This is the letter size and is also available in A5, but the one that you're looking at is the letter size. So the first page shows everything that is included in this budget planner. As you see, for some budgeting sheets, I made two different versions. One is more of a like a one pager for shorter list that has two different types of budgeting. So for example, variable expense and wish list is on one page. But if you prefer using a full page for each, you can also have a full page for variable expense and then a separate page for a wish list. So whichever works best for you. And then the next two pages are instructions. This is mainly for those who may be new to cash stuffing or budgeting, but even if you're already familiar with this budgeting method, feel free to take a look at it so you know how to use each sheet, or you can simply watch this video since I'll be going over each page in this video. And then I will also add a QR code here so that those who download it can watch it, watch the video and see how I use this budget planner. So the first page is the monthly summary. I wrote down some numbers here as an example, so these are not actually accurate for our budget. So please just take that into consideration while you're watching this. So this sheet is the summary of the month where it shows how much money you have made that month and how much money you have spent. And when I say expense, it includes saving and debt payments because it is coming out of your income and going somewhere else. So, I mean, although it is saving, like if it's saving, you still have it, but I'm considering that as an expense, if that makes sense. So here you will write down all your incomes. So the date of your paycheck, what kind of income it is, and then how much you have made per paycheck. So I kept like more rows here just in case you get paid weekly or you have side hustles besides your full-time job. And I recommend doing cash stuffing, like one cash stuffing per paycheck just because it's a little easier. That's why I just kept many lines here. And then under the expenses, you will write down all the different types of expenses. So for example, it can include fixed bills, which is a bill that goes out automatically on a certain due date every month, such as like rent or mortgage, subscriptions, things like that. And variable expenses is a daily expense that you need to survive, to live your life basically, such as groceries, eating out, and gas. But since that's not a fixed amount every month and it vary every month, and also there is no due date, I would put those in variable expenses. So those are the two like difference between fixed bills and variable expenses. And then the next one is sinking funds and savings, which I will show a little later. And then debt/loan payments here. So these are all the expenses that you will write down here. You won't need to write down all the details here just because this is more of a summary page, just so you can see how much money you have saved and spent that month. So for all the other details, you will write that on the other sheets later. And then at the bottom here, you can write down the total income, total expense, and how much is either over or under budget. So for example that I put here, I calculated everything and then I found that I am $75 under the budget. So I have this extra $75 that I can use either to save or spend to treat yourself, to reward yourself for staying under the budget, or putting them into the debt payment. So I would just put a note here like 75 to personal saving. So that's how I would use this summary page. And then now the next pages are all the expenses. So the first one is fixed bills. As I shared with you, this is the bills that go out every month. So I would recommend printing out your credit and debit card, like the checking account from your bank, maybe the past 2 months, and then highlight everything that goes out automatically from your checking account or credit cards. So, and then you will put the date when it goes out, and then you will put accounts, either checking account or credit account. If everything comes out from one account and you don't need this field, I created one different version that doesn't have the account field. So if everything comes out from either one checking account or one credit card, just use this a simpler version, just so you don't need to write down account here for every bill. And then you will write down what kind of bill it is, either that being rent, water, trash, utilities, streaming services, card payments, anything. And then you will put the budget here, which is the amount that you see in average or a little over what you usually spend. So for example, utilities, you might spend in average $100, then you will put 100 as a budget. And then once it is charged on your credit card or checking account, then you will put down what's the actual amount. And then whatever is the difference, you will write it down here. So that way at the bottom, you know how much is the extra that you were able to save or how much is over than what you budgeted. So this kind of helps you to manage like how much you need to save. So when you start this system, the first, I would say like 2 to 3 months, this might be a little off. So whatever you budget might be a lot more or a lot less than what you actually spend. So don't worry, like once you like use this every month, like in 2 to 3 months, you will have a better idea and have a better idea on how much you should actually budget for each bill. That varies a little bit. And if it's easier, you can put these varying fixed bills into the variable expenses. So whatever is easier for you. I usually put it in the fixed bills just because it has a due date and I know usually how much I spend. So for example, electric bills, I use a lot more electric bills. Like my bills are higher in summer because we use a lot of AC compared to winter where we rarely use the heater. So for that, like what I usually do is I budget the same amount. And then over the winter, I know I am budgeting a lot more than what I actually will be spending. So whatever is left over, I roll that over to our envelope called utilities. And then I use that envelope over the summer when the actual bills is higher than my regular budget. Or if you feel more comfortable, you can change the budget like every month or every season or every quarter, whatever works for you. So that way it's more accurately budgeted for that season. So that was the fixed bills tracker. The next one is variable expenses. These are the daily expenses that you need to survive. I just put it that way. So for example, like groceries, eating out, and gas, things that you have to budget every month, but it varies, like the actual amount that you spend is different every month. So I do my best to stay within the budget, and whatever I budget, I know I need to spend the same amount or less. And if there's any difference, such as over budget or under budget, I will just calculate it here. And whenever I have this leftover, unless it's groceries, for example, if I have any like leftover for grocery budget, I put that into my Costco envelope because I know whenever I go to Costco, I usually buy everything in bulks, which means I spend more. So that's what I do. But for all the other stuff, I put them into the utility envelope in one of my binders. So that way I can use that money for the months where my variable expenses or fixed bills are over budget, or in case there's any unexpected bills, some kind of surprises, or like for example, if you get ticketed for parking or speeding, like those are some unexpected expenses, and I use that envelope to cover those expenses. And then here is the wish list. This is optional, not everyone has this, but this helps me figure out how much I need to save in my sinking fund. So for example, if I want to go on a vacation for Christmas, and if I want to save $1,000 for that vacation, and then I put the date or month or the year that I will need to have it saved by. So if I want to go on a vacation in December, I will put it in December. And then I will either put month or week, whichever is easier for you when you do the cash planning, and then put the amount of money that you need to save every month or week. So for example, for vacation, I put $1,000, and then I want to save everything by November. So that means I have 10 months to save $1,000. So I will put month, and then I will put $100 per month so that by November, I save $1,000 for my vacation to go in December. Or if it's easier, you can put it a week instead of month, if that makes more sense to you. So these are just very false examples, like down payment 50,000, where in the area that I live, it's not at all enough to buy a house. But this is just an example to show you like how I would use this wish list so that you know how much you need to save for each category in your sinking funds. So the next one is saving and sinking fund and debt and loan tracker. So for whatever is the remaining balance after you deduct everything that you budgeted for fixed bills and variable expenses from your total income, I would use that for saving, sinking fund, as well as debt and loans. So here you can put, for example, personal saving, emergency sinking fund, beauty, clothes, shopping, car maintenance, pet care sinking funds. And you would write down goals if you have the goal for those categories. For example, you probably have goals for personal savings and emergency, but for beauty, clothes, shopping, like things like that, you might not have goals, which is totally fine. And then you will put how much you want to put in that month. And I know sometimes you might spend more than what you put in, and that's totally okay. And if you prefer tracking that as well, you can put it here. So for example, you put $10 in beauty envelope, but then you actually spend $30, then I will put 20 minus, just to show that you actually spent more than what you've saved. But if it's easier, you can only put the numbers here that you're contributing that month, instead of writing down how much you actually spent after saving. And then you will put the balance here at the end of the month so that you know how much you have saved by that month. And then you will deduct that from the goal so you know how much more you need to save to reach that goal. So this is more optional, so you don't have to use that. But I thought like this might be helpful for some of you who are more goal oriented and more goal driven. So this is an example of how you can use saving and sinking fund. And then the next one is debt and loan. So you will write down basically the same thing, all the credit cards or student loans or any loans that you have per account. And here, this is more of a miscellaneous column that you can skip if you want, or you can use. So these are some examples. For example, for some loans, it's easier for me to know how much is a minimum payment for that month. So for example, for credit card one, my minimum payment is $50 as an example. But for some other loan accounts, I might want to put how much is the interest rate. So it could be 20%, 21%, whatever that is. And sometimes I want to know how much interest was charged in the previous month, just so I can make sure whatever I put for the debt payment this month is over that. Because if last month your interest that was charged on your account was $50, and then if you put $30 as a debt payment this month, your debt is actually growing instead of reducing. So I hope that makes sense. So you can use this column however is easier for you and that makes sense for you. And then you will put previous balance here. You can find this number from your loan or credit card statement just to see what was the balance in the previous month. And then in this column, you will put how much you're contributing as debt payment. So if you want to put $50 as a debt payment, I will put minus here, just so you know that is deducted from the current debt you have. And then you will put the new balance. But if you actually spent more, for example, you had to purchase something emergency for $500, then I would just put 500 plus so that I know in the new balance, it is higher than the previous balance. But again, same as saving and sinking fund, if it's easier, you can just like delete that and then just put however you're contributing as debt payment to pay off that loan. So these are the saving, sinking fund, and debt loan trackers. And then earlier, I showed you the variable expenses and wish list. And for those who may prefer having more space, I created this full page version for variable expenses. And then wish list, saving and sinking fund, and debt and loan. Because I know some of you prefer having more space, some of you prefer more simplified version, like minimalistic version. So you can use whichever works best for you. And the next one is cash stuffing planning sheet. So I prefer doing this per paycheck. So if you get paid weekly, you can do this every week. Or if you get paid bi-weekly, you can do that bi-weekly. For my personal paycheck, I get paid once a month. So for that one, I just do it once a month. So here, as you see, I like to do everything, all the categories except for fixed bills, just because usually that just goes out directly from your bank account. So if you prefer including that here, that's totally fine, whatever works best. So basically you would just write down all the categories that you want to cash stuff for. And then you will put amount that you will be contributing either to the envelope or savings account or the debt payments here for that paycheck. And for example, if you prefer transfer money directly to the bank account, for example, personal saving, if you want to contribute $100, and if you just prefer transferring that directly to your saving instead of cash stuffing, you can just mark it off like this. So you know you don't cash stuff, but you are planning that as part of your budget. And then once you are done with that, you will just put the denomination for each category and then calculate the sum of the number of bills for each, and then calculate the total here just to make sure that it all adds up. And then you'll put the total amount of cash stuffing here. And then you can write down this information on a piece of paper or a teller slip when you withdraw the cash. The next one is card and online spending tracker. I like to do this at least twice a month just because I like to use credit cards for most of our purchases to get the credit card points. So this basically what you will do is once a week or once a month, whenever you want to do it, you will go to your bank account or credit card account and then write down all the purchases you made with the date, description as in like what you bought, category, which is usually the name of the envelopes that you have, amount, how much you spent, and then the account, which account you use to make this purchase. I added this because I sometimes use credit cards, sometimes I use checking account. So depending on that, I need to know how much I actually spend per account so that I can pay that back or bring that cash back to the bank. And once you put all this information, you will pull this amount of cash from each envelope and then you will check that off just so you know it's reflected in your budget. And then at the bottom, I will put the total so that at the end of every card online spending tracking, you can count the cash that you pulled out just to make sure that it matches the total. And I would also put how much money you spend from each account if you use different accounts, just so it's easier to know how much you need to pay your credit card at the end of the month. But if you don't use multiple accounts and only use one credit card or just the bank account, then you can use this version where it doesn't have the account field here. I just made two different versions depending on what you prefer. And the last sheet of this planner is my budget notes. I wanted to include this blank notes that also goes with the theme, like the design theme, because I like to keep my planner really organized and clean, but I still need some space to like do the quick calculation or do a quick notes. So I thought it might be helpful to have this sheet just on the side. You can either add this to your binder or you can just print it out and put it on the side whenever you need to take notes. Or you can just use any notepads or post-its that you have. But for those who like to use something that's designed in the same theme, I just included this so you can use it for however you need. So that was the budget planner. So both the budget and meal planners are available for purchase on my Etsy and Kofi shop. They are available in the letter and A5 size, so you can download whichever works best for you. Again, these still are not perfect and I really want to improve them. So feel free to send me your feedback via email at yedgebudget@gmail.com, and I really appreciate your help so much. If you're new to cash stuffing and meal planning, I hope this video helped you explore how this system works and how I budget and meal plan using this planner. And I also hope that you can utilize this planner as you develop your own system that works best for you. So that was the end of today's video. If you like the content, please click the like and subscribe buttons. Thanks for watching and I'll see you next time.